Chapter 34, The Colosseum. Franz had so managed his route that during the ride to the Colosseum, they passed not a single ancient ruin, so that no preliminary impression interfered to mitigate the colossal proportions of the gigantic building they came to admire. The road selected was a continuation of the Via Sistina. Then, by cutting off the right angle of the street in which stands Santa Maria Maggiore, and proceeding by the Via Urbana and San Pietro in Vincoli, the travelers would find themselves directly opposite the Colosseum. This itinerary possessed another great advantage, that of leaving Franz at full liberty to indulge his deep reverie upon the subject of Signor Pastrini's story, in which his mysterious host of Monte Cristo was so strangely mixed up. Seated with folded arms in a corner of the carriage, he continued to ponder over the singular history he had so lately listened to, and to ask himself an interminable number of questions touching its various circumstances without, however, arriving at a satisfactory reply to any of them. One fact more than the rest brought his friend Sinbad the Sailor back to his recollection, and that was the mysterious sort of intimacy that seemed to exist between the brigands and the sailors, and Pastrini's account of Vampa's having found refuge on board the vessels of smugglers and fishermen reminded Franz of the two Corsican bandits he had found supping so amicably with the crew of the little yacht, which had even deviated from its course and touched at Porto Vecchio for the sole purpose of landing them. The very name assumed by his host of Monte Cristo, and again repeated by the landlord of the Hotel de Londra, abundantly proved to him that his island friend was playing his philanthropic part on the shores of Piombino, Civitavecchia, Ostia, and Gaeta, as on those of Corsica, Tuscany, and Spain. And further, Franz bethought him of having heard his singular entertainer speak both of Tunis and Palermo, proving thereby how largely his circle of acquaintances extended. Welcome to Chapter 34. It's a long one, folks. It's the same length as 33. Boop. I'm sorry. Some of you are paying to help keep the show on the air, and you didn't hire me to sing or write jaunty little jingles. Franz is asking the same questions. His mind is in the same place that your old buddy Landon's head is at. One question that comes to me immediately after the controversy, the scandal that we uncovered at the end of book 33, where Robin Buss had added that line in chapter 32 about calling out the Count of Monte Cristo explicitly, is whether or not Franz has put two and two together that Sinbad the Sailor, i.e. his, quote, island friend, end quote, is the same as the Count of Monte Cristo. This is indicating that he has put the two together. That line there, the very name assumed by his host of Monte Cristo and again repeated by the landlord of the Hotel de Londra, abundantly proved to him that his island friend was playing his philanthropic part, ... So I think if I can just go out on a limb here. Now, we're only in the first episode of chapter 34. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But this whole thing is called the Colosseum. Franz and Albert have decided to go, despite Signor Pastrini's warnings about Vampa being out there, to go to the Colosseum. If I'm to take that first part of today's passage for intention, I think it's that Franz is choosing to go simply because the story that Pastrini told about Vampa included information about Sinbad the Sailor, his island friend, and therefore, if he puts himself in the way of Vampa, he might get one step closer to Sinbad the Sailor, or the Count of Monte Cristo, or Edmond Dante. That's my guess. Now, one thing I wasn't able to quite infer from this is when Franz brings to mind or recalls the idea of those two Corsican bandits that Sinbad, as we'll call him, whisked away in the morning after Franz's little hashish trip, whether or not they're Vampa and Teresa. It's not Cucumetto. Cucumetto's dead. Carlini's dead. Who could the other bandit be beyond Vampa? Vampa didn't have a brother in the story we read, so who could the Corsican... Well, I guess I didn't say brothers. Sorry, that's me. That's me applying Dumas' other story to this, as we did during that chapter. It's the two Corsican bandits. So it could just be Vampa and his second-hand man, But I don't think there's any evidence for that necessarily. But the line, ... reminded Franz of the 2 Corsican bandits he had found supping so amicably with the crew of the little yacht. Which is interesting, because let's just say one of the Corsican bandits is Vampa. Does that change the dynamic if Franz and Albert encounter him? Again, I might be getting too far ahead of myself, but if Vampa recognizes Franz as an ally to Dante, then maybe all of Pastrini's threats are irrelevant. Well, we've got a long way to go to find out, so let's just get to it. Join me here tomorrow as we dive deeper into Chapter 34, the Colosseum. Until then, okay, goodbye. The Countdown of Monte Cristo is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. This show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. Theme song by Magic Solo. If you want to support the show and others like it, visit patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.